Welcome to the Top Talent and Immigration Show with your host, Kaushik Ranchod. In this show, we discuss how companies and top talent in America overcome immigration obstacles and help create freedom and prosperity in America.
Kaushik Ranchod here. I'm the founder of Top Talent and Immigration, where I talk with leading researchers, business leaders, and attorneys on how they overcome big challenges in the immigration process and business. And in this episode, we're going to be turning the tables. That's right. I have John Corcoran, who's done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs, investors, and CEOs. And he's going to be interviewing me. Take it away, John.
All right, Kaushik, thanks for having me. So in this episode, what we're going to be talking about is DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. This has been in the news for the last few years. So we're going to talk about where we come from, where we are today, and what we're expecting to see from the U.S. Supreme Court in the months and years ahead. And this episode, of course, is brought to you by Ranchod Law Group, which Ranchod Law Group's mission is to provide freedom and prosperity for immigrants and help more businesses to connect to top talent. Ranchod Law Group believes that immigrants add tremendous value to the U.S. economy and helps companies facing a shortage of talent to make up that gap and grow thanks to the immigrant talent that contributes to their bottom line. They also help immigrants to navigate the really complicated immigration process today, which is constantly changing. And Ranchod Law Group has been in business for nearly 20 years in Northern California, serving clients nationwide as a trusted advisor for employers and helping employers to attract talented immigrant employees. You can contact Ranchod Law Group today for details on how the firm can help you to solve your immigration challenges. Go to ranchodlaw.com or 916-613-3553. That's 916-613-3553. All right, so Kaushik, now the DACA program, it's been in the news a lot, but for those who are new to this, give us a little bit of an overview of what it is.
So basically, I'm just going to dumb it down for people who don't know what it is. It's for people who it's designed for children who came in. So for instance, many of our clients came in at 5, 6, 7 years old and didn't really have the choice to come in because they weren't planning as a 5-year-old to enter the United States without inspection. And they found themselves here, and it's an opportunity for them to get work authorization and not be deported while they have DACA.
And some of these stories are kind of tragic stories. Like you were telling me beforehand about some clients you've worked with who this is the country that they've always known. They haven't known living in whatever home country they came from.
Exactly. So if they were going to go home, they don't know Spanish, for instance. They've grown up their whole life here. This is their home. They consider themselves to be Americans because they've lived here their whole life. And sometimes it's very tragic. Like sometimes they don't even find out that they weren't born here until their parents tell them, like
wow,
when they're about to go to college, and that's where it comes out. So they think they've grown up here their whole life. And then their parents, tell them, well, you're not going to be able to go to school because, you're not going to be able to do X, Y, and Z because you don't have status.
What are some of those things that they're prevented from doing?
Well, from the most basic is not being, unless they have DACA, is not being able to get employment. And depending upon where you live in the schools, they may not be able to go to school. So, those are some of the most basic rights that aren't available to them.
Wow.
Now California, in the state of California, you can get a driver's license if you don't have work authorization, but in other states, that may not be available to you.
Wow. Okay. So, what happened with DACA that brought it into the news with the Trump administration?
So during the Obama administration, DACA was granted through an executive order, and then Trump basically told everyone when he was running for president, we're going to protect the kids. And then, lo and behold, during his administration, turned the tables and said, no, we're going to be taking away DACA. And so that's basically where we're at now. And there's been conflicting rulings in different courts, and that's why it's gone to the Supreme Court. as to whether or not DACA is going to remain or not.
Got it. And so have there been people or children who've been, kicked out of the country so far? Or is it all on hold?
It's all on hold because of the conflict in the courts.
Got it. Okay. So go ahead.
So that's what the Supreme Court is supposed to decide, is what the future of DACA is.
Got it. Okay. So they've heard oral argument already, and when we record this as of November 2019, it's pending a ruling. Is that correct?
Correct. So we expect to hear a ruling anytime from January 2020 to June, July of next year.
Okay. And what are the different options? How could the court rule?
So one option is that the court could, in the best of all circumstances, continue to allow DACA. And right now where it stands is people can renew DACA, but they can't apply if they've never applied for DACA before. And so if you're in DACA status, you can continue to renew your status. But in the best case scenario would allow people who have not applied for DACA to also apply for DACA.
Okay, got it. Okay, any other options?
So that would be the best case scenario. Now, the Supreme Court is leaning conservative, and unfortunately our courts in these days seem to be more political than objective. So I don't think that scenario that I described to you is going to actually happen because of the politics involved. So what is more likely to happen is either this circumstance of allowing people to continue to renew their DACA who are in DACA status. So that would be the second best case scenario, is just basically continuing what is happening right now, is that renewal process, and people who are in DACA status continue to remain in DACA status if they renew timely.
Got it. And what's the worst case scenario?
So worst case scenario would be to pull the rug under people and DACA, either when their DACA expires or have some kind of revocation process for people who are in DACA, and force those people to leave.
And how many people are we talking about here that could be forced to leave the country?
I think it's around 200,000 people, wow. But I am not exactly sure on those numbers.
Yeah, I think I've seen different numbers thrown out as well. I think maybe we don't even know the numbers.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's a really major ruling. Now, I think you said that there could be some, if the court rules a certain way, it could have an effect on other executive orders that Trump has issued during his time in office. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so basically, if this ruling comes out where the Supreme Court says, well, Obama didn't have the authority to issue an executive order, then we have to look at and apply that consistently across the board. So many of the things that Trump has done in his administration has been through executive orders. And so that opens up the door to revoke a lot of those executive orders as well, because of the fact that he's been issuing executive orders in many, many situations. And if you're not going to allow an executive order under one administration, it doesn't matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat. You have to apply that consistently.
Right. And there are probably executive orders that are affecting other areas of immigration, or that would affect other areas of immigration that could get thrown out as well, I imagine.
If you're going to apply the same logic, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Anything else that we haven't covered as far as DACA is concerned?
No, what I'm advising people now is just don't rest on your laurels. If you're on DACA status, you may be eligible for an I-601A waiver. You might be eligible for a U visa. You might be eligible for 245I. So I think people, before didn't feel the urgency, but now that the Supreme Court is coming out with this ruling, explore the other options to see if there's other options available to you. That's
good advice. So Ranchod Law can be contacted at ranchodlaw.com or 916-613-3553. People can give you a call and they can ask about these different options, as you mentioned, correct?
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Well, Kaushik, educational as always. We'll be back again soon with another episode covering today's top immigration topics and challenges. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to click to subscribe, check us out on the web, and we will see you next time.